Content warning. The following program contains smoking, discussions of language, potty mouth language, discussions of fictitious violence, and of course... Well, no, that's pretty much about it, huh? Yeah, all right, yeah, that's pretty much what we said. All right, yeah, that's what the book said. That's what we got. All right, cool. Let's just start the... let's start the show. Let's start the show. Hey everybody, how you doing out there? How's it going? What is the word? What is the word? How you feeling out there? Or should I say hush hush? What? Hush hush. Hush hush. What? Hush hush. Alright, that's what we're doing. That is what the thing that we got going out there is. And hello everyone! Welcome to the dark side of the room. I am Solar Gray, your cinematic sorcerer, and I am coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And man, do we have to do a show for you guys today, alright? That is one of the things we gotta do, doing a show for you guys today. I'm glad that everyone is here, making sure that all the streams are going properly. So yeah, we're going good over on YouTube, we're going good here on Twitch, we're just going good. Finally, I was super mad yesterday. Oh my god, super mad yesterday about the fact that OBS had a hiccup and I didn't get an email for it. That's okay. We're here, we're back. I put out a little video a little earlier today talking about that, so we got some stuff to talk about. But first, we got some announcements that we gotta make because yeah, these are things that we got to do. Alright, so let's take a look at the stuff that we've got to do today. Like, I gotta make a serious announcement for Decker Day, y'all. Decker Day is happening. We are 4 days away from Decker Day. And honestly, I'm really excited, but I'm also kind of tired. And let me explain to you some of the reasons why we got that. So, Decker Day is coming. Alright, it is this Saturday, today being Thursday. Oh my god, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's 2 days away. Alright, and we are talking so many different things that we got going on. This is so cool. Had to do a couple other things. Now we are down to a few tickets, but what should I say? 2 days, that's right. So, this is one of the things I want to talk to you guys about Decker Day. Alright, I'm putting down the deposit on the thing today to make sure that all the food is there, but also I need to sell 6 more tickets. 6 more tickets, you know. How can you guys help me out with that? Well, if you guys know anybody in the Southern California area, hit them up to buy the 6 tickets today. That would be good. Like 6 people, 1 ticket each. It's not undoable. You know, I hate to sound like a telethon or anything like that, but these things are sponsored by viewers like you. If you're not in the Southern California area, like one of our people from Wisconsin, and another one that's going to be all the way out in Nevada, you can sponsor a couple of tickets. Just buy a couple of tickets, put the note sponsorship in the note when you pay for your ticket, and I'll make sure that these are people that get sponsored and all of that stuff. So that is some really cool stuff. There's so many things that are going on in regards to that, and I'm spinning a lot of plates, y'all. So, see what you can do. Oh, really? Well, thank you. All right, I just fixed that. And, yeah, my, no wonder that's relatively high. All right, that works there. So, yeah, so if you guys can afford to sponsor a ticket, for a kid or something that wants to go down there, God, what we would appreciate that. Hardcore. Like I said, I gotta sell 6 tickets today, all right, to make sure that I'm still in good standing with the venue. So this is a really big thing, guys. So we're talking 6. Hop on your Facebook, hop on your Twitter, talk to your grandparents, whatever. But 6 tickets. That is what I need to do. So again, I hate to sound like a Jerry Lewis telethon or anything like that, but yeah, this is what I'm really trying to do. I'm really trying to get down. If you guys are noticed, I am not wearing the normal turtleneck because one, this is the hobby haul, and I don't wear the turtleneck during the hobby haul, but also, it's still super hot. All right, it's still really hot in the studio. So that's one of the things going. And soon, hopefully after Decker Day, I'll be wearing my own. I'll be wearing my own merch. I'm just waiting for it to come in from the places that it comes in at. Also, please subscribe to the channel, like everything. Just subscribe to the channel and all that stuff. If you've got an Amazon Prime account, then it won't cost you anything. All right, just when you go, you're like, yeah, I want to subscribe and I want to do that with Amazon Prime, and look at that, it is so fun. All right, so that's the whole thing. Of course, if you got the $5, then that would really be appreciated. I gotta give a shout out to some of my people today, but if y'all got any questions about anything, then feel free to hit me up at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK at gmail.com. You can also hit me up on the social medias, all right? Like all the social medias. I've been drowning in getting Decker Day together, but, you know, it's definitely one of those. Also, join Deckers on the Book, guys. And most people have a Facebook account, let's be real. We don't like to use it, I get it, I totally get that whole thing, but Deckers on the Book, I police that group pretty freaking hard. So you guys can talk to each other. I give away PDFs of books and stuff so that people can do the reading and check out other games that are being played, and you know, you guys can try before you buy because I'm old-fashioned and all of that jazz. So there is all that, and I want to give a shout out to my patrons. You know, we're at patreon.com/BID_P. Like Laura Holden, Shaylee Watson, Jennifer Kroll, Noah Olheiler, Glenn Couch, Christopher Chalmers, and of course Joseph Hines. So thank all of you guys for your support and keeping this open. You guys are really the sponsors of most of these episodes because unfortunately we're not big enough for me to start getting offers from things like Manscaped or even Raid Shadow Legends. You know, if y'all watch much YouTube, y'all know the people that are sponsoring stuff all the time. Speaking of YouTube, I want to give a shout out to all of you guys that are watching this on YouTube in the future. Oh, what is that? Yes, in the future. So that is one of the things that we can do. So now we've got all that stuff coming down. All right. Yesterday was a thing, guys. Yesterday was a serious thing. All right. You know, I planned a really cool show for you guys and to give you guys a whole bunch, and I mean a whole bunch of the techniques that I use to learn a bunch of games. All right. And when I say a bunch of games, there's a lot of that stuff that comes down, and I know I have a hard time teaching people games sometimes because they have it made up in their mind before we get started that these things are going to be difficult. All right. Like, oh my God, there's so much information. There's so much this, there's so much that. And I'm like, okay, I get where all of that can be overwhelming, especially if you're new to gaming in general, or new to a type of gaming, be it tabletop role-playing, tabletop role-playing, tabletop miniatures games, board games, anything like that. I realized that it's really easy to get confused. All right, really easy to get confused, really easy to get mixed up, and I get all of that. So what we're going to do, and this show is going to be a little bit longer today, because we are going to go into this not in depth, but I'm giving you guys my technique for learning just about any game. All right. But before I do that, All right, before I do that, I'm going to put out the secondary announcements because, I'm like, hey guys, what's up? Watch the show today. And a lot of people tuned in yesterday to watch the show, and the thing happened. And the real talk is, the real talk behind all that was yesterday OBS had its own complications, and pretty much every streamer yesterday who uses OBS we got hit. We just got hit. OBS couldn't what's the term I'm looking for? They couldn't hook up to any of their servers. It was a thing. So when I'm like, yeah, that's the whole thing, that's what I'm doing, I'm hooking up everything, and then as soon as I pushed stream now, it was like and like I said on today's earlier announcement, I bought the thing for like an hour and a half, okay? And come 4:30, I really felt like Homer Simpson, where it was like oh, it's just a little dirty, still good. I'm just 10 minutes late, I'm still good. I'm just a little airborne, still good. Nah, dude, it really was like a real thing, right? So, but I'm back, and CBBID_P, or let me get that going. But yeah, so a lot of that stuff came down yesterday, and I was just kicked in the teeth so hard. I was so mad. Like, I'm not gonna say all I could do was cry, because that wouldn't be true. I could also scream and yell and kick a couple of things. So I was not in the best of spots yesterday. So, but that's okay. We got everything going, and I'm sending out the link right now for people to watch the show, because like I said, today I'm giving up some major stuff out there. Some major stuff out there. So that I can really show you guys what we're doing. What we're doing, why I do the stuff, and why it looks like the stuff I do is so bloody easy. All right. Or should I say I've been playing these games for years, like I said. And a lot of people think that because I've played these games for years, that I'm like this super duper master, right? Like I'm an actual game master. And the thing is, I'm not, all right? The thing is, I learned pretty quickly. I learned most things pretty quickly. Primarily because I understand simplicity. Okay, what we're talking about is Marcus Aurelius. In each thing, what is it in itself? All right. Now, there are certain things that that come down to learning any game that you play with other people in real life. All right. And when I say that, what do I mean? I mean board games, I mean tabletop miniatures games, I'm talking role-playing games. Sorry, Xenothates, why must I fail every attempt at masonry? Maybe because you got the handshake wrong? I'm not sure. Anyway, so yeah. So what I'm looking at that is, how is it that I know how to play so many games and I learn them so quickly? And that is because I understand the fundamentals of, I guess you can say, game design, but it's a little less than that, because again, you get into stuff like game design and people are like, why don't you make your own game? And the fact is I don't want to. I really don't want to. I like playing games. And every player who has ever broken a game, okay, just figured out the fundamentals to the game and hacked their way through it, has already figured this stuff out. All right. And this is why some people look like they take to it a lot faster, why a lot of people have this idea that this stuff is easy, and the things that people don't quite get as to how this stuff isn't super complicated. All right. Yeah. So, let's see, twitch.tv/BID_P. You know, this is also me just sharing the page and all that stuff. I've been doing it for like the past hour, but people ain't here, so I got to do it again. So that's the whole thing. Oh, that Homer said, oh yeah, when he was smashing the head parts for his, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why am I so good without, oh, hey, Friedwin, how's it going? So let us get started. Okay, let us get started. Pull out your notepad, okay, because today on Hobby Hall, I am going to show you how to learn the basics of just about any game and where to put your energy in learning the differences between games and where the flavor really comes out. All right, so let's do that real quick. I'm going to push the BRB button just to make sure that people are getting their notes. So yeah, let's do that. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, people. Get your notes, get your notebooks, get all the stuff that you need to do the stuff that you want to do and to take down all of this stuff. Because again, once I break this stuff down for you, you'll be like, oh man, this is stupid easy. And no wonder he knows so many games and gets straight to the imagination part, you know. Because real talk, that's really the part that most of us are into. So yeah, get your pencils, get your paper, get all that stuff. And yeah. So let's wait, nope, that's not that one. Doing one more sending out, and then yeah, here we go. We'll be back in 5, 4, 3, 2. Yeah, I know you can't, Glenn, but you already know this stuff. 1, and all right, so we are back, everybody. All right, we are back. We're doing the thing, and let me send out one more thing. Now, the very first thing, okay, the very first thing that you need when you're learning a new game is to understand the fundamental principles, okay, the fun principles. But the fundamental principles of every single game are all the same. Now, let's say we're going to start off with tabletop miniatures games. And the reason for that is because, well, how can I put this? The reason for this is a tabletop miniatures game is a distilled version of a role-playing game. In fact, most role-playing games evolved from a tabletop miniatures game. And most board games today are going toward the tabletop miniatures game way. If you don't believe me, check out Zombicide or Fireteam Zero or Fallout, okay? You got your little toys and you're doing the toy type thing. So there's all that, and yeah, it is a real big thing. So yeah. How do we, what's the term I'm looking for? How do we get the fundamentals of all this? Well, number one, Okay, number one. The first thing that you have to learn in any new game is its lexicon. Okay, its lexicon being its jargon. Okay, now you don't have to learn the jargon in and of itself, because we're about to break down the jargon. All right, because the jargon comes with a lot. It's 7 major parts of jargon for beginning play, and that is where all of these things come in. And you might be like, whoa, 7 parts. I'm like, these are the same 7 parts in any tabletop game, and every tabletop miniatures game, and we're gonna go through that. Number one, we have the type of die that's being used. Okay, it's real simple. Like if you're playing something like the Batman miniatures game from Night Models, you're using D6s. If you're using the DC universe miniatures game from Night Models, you're using D8s. If you're playing one-page rules or Warhammer 40k, you're using D6s. I.e. the sides of dice. All right, you get all this part in what is a game, part of any book. But there are so many different lexicon things that are out there, but the very first thing you need to know is what are the materials of this game called. All right, now the next part is moving. All right, but we'll get to moving in a sec. Now, like I said, there are so many different games out there. You guys that play Star Wars Legion or Marvel Crisis Protocol, those use 8-sided dice that don't have numbers. They've got little symbols and all that stuff. And all that stuff is part of the lexicon. So you have to learn the language and special materials that you'll need for any game. All right, once you understand and accept that, you're on the right track. All right, now the 7 major parts of the game lexicon come down to movement. How do you push your little toy across the board or the grid or whatever? A lot of games have gridded systems. A lot of games have gridded systems like BattleTech. You play that on a hexagonal grid. I'm like, hexagonal or octagonal? No, hexagonal. You play that on a hexagonal grid. A lot of D&D, you play on a square grid of about 1 inch, but 1 square equals 5 feet, regardless of how big the square is, kind of thing. HeroClix uses a 1.5 inch grid system. So yeah, you've got grid. Then you've got standard measurement, i.e. tape measure. All right, and those games are played in inches or centimeters. And then you've got template movement. All right, and this is very important. You'll get games out there like Star Wars Armada, Star Wars X-Wing, Star Trek Attack Wing, Gaslands, that have special tools. I believe it works this way in Kill Team now as well. You got special tools out there that say, this is how long you can move. Marvel Crisis Protocol is another one. This is a short movement. This is a long movement. And all of these things were put together to make each game that has them stand out from all the others. Because again, mastering these fundamentals that I'm teaching you right now can make every game seem samey. Okay? So now that we know that we need movement, we understand how the little things move. All right, that's the whole thing. So sometimes, as I said, you use measurements, templates, or grids. That's it. Which one of the 3 are we dealing with? So yeah, the next thing you got to do is understand the dice mechanic. This comes down to like what type of dice you're using. Is it an over-under system? Is it a cumulative system? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you, Zan. Because yeah, the widgets, the Kill Team movement widgets. I'm not sure about this because I don't play Games Workshop stuff. Like I said, I'm trying to sell 6 tickets to an event this week, and which means I'm not trying to get a second mortgage on my house. But in the one-page rule stuff, you use the same type of measurement tools, like, you know, essentially tape measures that, if you know any miniature wargamers, you'll notice that they actually have more measuring tapes scattered about their area than most carpenters. It's kind of odd. But yeah, the dice mechanics. So you've got stuff like Warhammer 40K, Vampire the Masquerade, Carnivale, that GURPS and Shadowrun, that have you hit a target number. Okay, however, you don't add up the total number that you roll on the dice. You go, this many dice hit this number or higher. Yeah, same. Every time I go to the 99-cent store, I pick up a couple of tape measures. You know, so like when you're playing Warhammer 40K or one-page rules or Carnivale, you're going to be rolling X amount of dice, and you're going, okay, on each one of these dice, I want this number or higher. But in a lot of other games, like War Machine, what else we got? Anything D20, like D&D, you're rolling the die and you're adding up the number with bonuses to try and hit a target. Okay, and some games you do a little bit of both. That's the over-under system. Sometimes you have to roll over a certain number. Sometimes you have to roll under a certain number. Okay, so once you understand that, and understand that both of these things are options for games, it's just a matter of knowing which one does this die pick. Most tabletop miniatures games, believe it or not, actually use the cumulative success system. Okay, that's the, I'm rolling a handful of dice and I want all the dice to hit this number or higher, and I drop the dice that don't. Okay, Carnivale uses D10s and its base target number is 7, so you roll 5 D10s and anything that is 6 or lower is failed. All right, that's just what you're looking at. Warhammer 40K, you're rolling a handful of D6s and average is 4, so you're hoping for 4s or higher, you know, that kind of thing. And all the dice that roll 3, 2, and 1, you kind of like push those aside. They don't count anymore. All right, so yeah, I mean, that's the basic thing. All right, so what do we got? We've got how do they move, and how do I read the dice once I've rolled them. All right, third part is the combat mechanic: attack, defense, damage. All right, so when those dice come up, how do I know I've been hit, and how do I know how much damage to take? It's really like that. All right, I love the DC Universe game, but I also love HeroClix. HeroClix is you roll 2d6, you add them together, you try and hit a target number. If you do damage, you turn the dial X amount of times. All right. However, in games like 40K, you roll a handful of stuff and you do that many wounds to 5, 10, 15 models, and then you start removing models because most models only have 1 hit point, you know, if the damage goes through. In games like War Machine, in War Machine, there are different ways of assessing damage, and it tends to only hit 1 model at a time. So y'all see what I mean now? How do they take damage? How do they defend themselves? And that's it. So to go over it again, lexicon. How do these people say these 7 things? All right. How do they move? How do they attack? How do they defend? And how do we read the dice? All right. So the next thing we have to look at is fuel. All right, fuel is really important. What do you mean by fuel? When you're playing a game, there is a mechanic that says how much you can do in your turn. Okay? If you're playing an I go, you go game like War Machine or 40K, you'll have various ways of operating stuff. In 40K, you move everybody, and and you don't really have, what's the term, mana points or force points or anything like that. In War Machine, you have a Warcaster that has X amount of focus that they can do. Yeah, resources. Thank you. Fuel, resources. But I'm trying not to use resources because your troops and your weapons loadout could also be wrapped into resources, and this is really concise. But yeah, so your fuel determines what you can do in a turn at maximum. In War Machine, you've got a Warcaster that'll have like 6 focus points, and they've got to spend that amongst their army for their army to do stuff. In HeroClix, you get 1 action per 100 points of the game. Okay, so if you play a 300-point game, your whole team gets 3 things that it can do in that game. That's it. That's all. 3 things. If you're playing, say, the DC Miniatures game, each figure has X amount of power they can spend to do stuff. So moving costs power, punching costs power, but you know what your superpowers costs that fuel. So what fuel? What is it that I'm spending in order to do the cool stuff? Just like in Magic the Gathering, you build up mana to cast spells. You have a fuel. Now this is a resource mechanic, but it's not the only resource mechanic. What's next on here? So we got the dice. And the special powers. What makes the things on the table more than just plain folks? All right. Or more to the point, more than just plain naked folks that are punching people in the face and maybe throwing a rock. All right. And that is where each game differs. Okay. But each game has its own lexicon for their special powers. HeroClix has the location and color system. 40K has the loadout, command point, and orders system. But when you ask yourself the question, what makes my guys special, and what do they need to do it? There you go. That's where the games start getting different. So when someone teaches me a game, I'm like, okay, how do I move? How do I punch? How do I get punched? Okay, how do I avoid getting punched? All right, yeah, that's a whole thing. Now, how can I do the thing that sparks my imagination? When I first learned Mage the Ascension, long ago, i.e. when it first came out, I was confused as all get out from their magic system, because they had Arete, Spheres, and Rotes, along with Quintessence and Paradox. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How do I cast a spell? All right. And it's like, I've got 5 points in this sphere, but I'm only rolling 3 dice to cast the spell. I don't understand what's going on. And when someone explained it to me, I'm like, oh, okay. Your Arete is your grade level. Your spheres are your subjects, and your rotes are your spells. And you can make up your own? Sweet. In Esper Genesis, they have things they have these things called talents. Those are your spells, all right? Talents. Essentially, they're copy-pasted from the 5th edition handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide as spells, but they're talents, all right? Esper talents. And that is a really important thing. The jargon accomplishes the same thing. It just talks about the thing in a different way. Okay, if you've played Yeah, every card game after Magic. How can I avoid saying tap? Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. But it's all the same mechanics overall, with the basics. Move, hit, not get hit. What do I got to spend? And what do I have to roll? All right. And the last part, and this is, I don't care what game you're playing, it also comes down to the big P word. And this is why I left this one for the end. All right. And that is, well, I'll leave it to the end because there was one other thing that I forgot to talk about, and that is environmental circumstances. All right. Now, this is kind of an intermediate thing, but it's also down with basics. All right. That would be Alligator Alley games, you know. And when I talk about environmental circumstances, I'm talking height, hindering terrain, blocking terrain, what is on the board that makes it hard to move, makes it harder to hit, easier to hit. You know, all of these things are there. If not, then you can shoot around corners. You know, what blocks line of sight, you know, that kind of thing. And these are all, these are literally board circumstances. Example, in HeroClix, there is no hindering. Actually, yeah, there is hindering terrain. And it gives you a -1. Okay, yeah, that's it. It gives you a -1 to your hit. Unless that person has stealth, in which case you can't hit them at all. That's it. Can't even target them at all. You can't see them. They're hiding because there's a tree between you and Batman, and he's just that good, so you can't see him. Shut up. You know, where in games like Warhammer 40K or War Machine's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition, if there was hindering terrain, then you got a -1 to hit. Blocking terrain meant you can't even see them because there's a wall in the way or a building in the way. You guys see what I mean on that? When it comes to movement, there is difficult terrain. There is impossible terrain. You know, because it's a lot easier running across a street made of cement that doesn't have anything on it than it is running across lava in an earthquake. You see what I mean? So that's all that stuff. So, and this goes into how they move and board circumstance. So we've got movement, board circumstances, attack, defense, attack and defense. What makes their special powers? What do they have to spend for their special powers to happen? And how do the dice work in this game? All right. And the very last thing, and this is, you know, once you got all those things down, which are really easy. I mean, they're simple questions. The last thing to really think about, and this is the first thing that I look for when I learn a new game, are what is the phase order? Now, phases are in every single game. They are the order of operations. Okay? That's it. Order of operations. At what point during your turn do you do the thing? Now, I'm about to shock Xanathades because I'm going to use the Warhammer 40K phase turn to show that I don't play because it's a matter of being able to afford it. All right. Very simple. All right. At the beginning of the turn, command phase, then movement phase. So command phase, do I get command points? Do I get them back? Yes, I get them back. Or no, I don't get them back. Cool. Am I going to spend those command points right now on buffers for my team? No? Okay, cool. Moving on. Movement phase. Now it's time to move everybody. Now I can move them the way that it says on the thing, or I can try and run and try and go further than it says on the thingamabobber. But now is the time to move if I'm gonna move. All right, cool. What's next? Shooting phase. Do my things that have guns want to go pew pew at those other things. Now is the time to do it. If I don't do it now, I probably won't do it later. Okay? Oh, sorry, before shooting phase, psychic phase. Do I have somebody that can cast a spell? Probably not. Okay, I do. Are they close enough to do it? No, they didn't move far enough. Moving on. Pew pew shooty phase. Pew pew, I'm shooting. Now, charg phase. I'm gonna charge and, hit people. All right, so, son of corn, thank you. Hang on. And now I do the punch, make evil stop being evil with my augmented fist or my chainsword. Now that we've done all that, morale phase. Who runs away? At the end of all that, end of the turn, next person's turn. That's it. In War Machine, it's the same way. Refill your focus points, distribute your focus points, moving on. In games like, in games that have an alternate activation gig, i.e., I move a figure, you move a figure, I move a figure, you move a figure, there's still activation. I'm using this guy. Special power thing. Is that time? No, activation phase. I'm picking that guy and I'm doing something with him. Moving. All right, I'm moving. Shooting. Can I shoot? I can't shoot. I didn't make this guy to shoot. Okay. Punch him in the face and make evil stop being evil with their fist. Done. All right, my turn is over. Hero clicks. Activation. What one thing am I going to do with this figure in this turn? All right, I'm going to charge that figure, which is a move and punch. So I'm going to move and punch and do that thing. I have two actions left for my team. So now I'm going to do that thing. Because hero clicks is an I go, you go thing. So whatever game that you're looking to play, again, Magic the Gathering, draw phase, mana phase, summon phase, summoning sickness phase, casting phase, interrupt an instant phase. The order of operations that the game puts together is one of the fundamental building blocks of what makes that game itself and not other games. Now, once you've got these 7 or 8 things understood, or once you understand that those are the 7 or 8 things you got to learn, and most of them only take about 20 seconds each to learn, then you're good. You're really good. Showing my age, I will say I stopped really liking Magic the Gathering at Moons of Mirrodin, okay? Showing my age. Play this criticism only as a mana source. Okay, unsummon. All right. Oh, no, wait. I'm tapping 3 mana to banish Freed 1 back to under his bridge, all right? With the rest of the trolls. I'm kidding. I got none but love for you out there. But yeah, so once you understand that these are the 7 phases of most games, the 7, that's, force of will, counterspell. So yeah, it really is, super easy, because like I said, most of these things only take a few seconds to learn. Okay, dead serious. Let's see. I want to play War Machine. What do these numbers mean? My movement means I can move this many inches across the board. Now I've learned how movement works. How do these dice work? It's a 2d6 game. Okay, so I roll 2d6 and I do this. All right, cool. Yeah, I may be old, but that didn't mean I didn't. But that doesn't mean I sucked at the game back in my day. So yeah. So seriously speaking, we've got all these different things and all these different stats. Now, when it comes to reading the stats and all that stuff, all of that is on top of the basic things. when you look at a character sheet in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, you'll see speed. You know, this person can move 30 feet every 6 seconds at a walk. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, if you're playing with your little minis on your little boards that have all this stuff, each square is 5 feet. Yeah, right? I know. I found out it wasn't a thing anymore also. It was like weird. I just learned what Commander was, and I'm like, oh, well, that seems fun. You know, like, hey, you get this guy out there the moment you start playing the game. That's fun. All right, that's kind of cool. I stopped when Planeswalkers first hit the board. All right, so yeah, just showing my age on that. But what was I saying? I was saying, hang on, yeah. So when it comes to playing these games and figuring these things out, you'll have other skills out there. One of the rules of thumb that I like to use is something I learned from skill-based games like Call of Cthulhu and Innomine and stuff like that, which is simple. If your numbers are high and you have to do something related to them, in general, you have to roll under it. That's really it. That really is it. If your score tops out at 20, then in order to accomplish something, you have to roll under that, or that number or lower. So the DC Universe game has a make a dexterity check in order to dodge spray weapons, right? Well, each figure has a dexterity number, like 11, 12, 13. You're using 2 8-sided die, and you're hoping to get that number or lower. If you don't, then you didn't make the thing. But every other time, you have to roll over, and it's just a matter of knowing which one of these. All right, that's the over/under type system. In Innomine, it's the same thing. Your skills max out at 6, and it's your skills plus your score in that I want to say sphere, but that realm, that ring, be it corporeal, celestial, or ethereal, and you're trying to get below the number that you already have. So if you add all that stuff up and you get a 9, you're rolling 2d6, and you're trying to get below that. I mean, it really is really that simple. Most good games are like Othello or Go. All right, very easy to learn, very difficult to master. All right, so yeah, these things are all there. You know, so fuel, action points, mana, that's all there. Now with your special powers are the thing that, like I said, differentiates each game from each other game. All right, and that is where the attention should be poured into. All right, and what do I mean by that? Well, let me pull up the HeroClix rule thing. All right, powers cards. Okay, the powers and abilities card from WizKids for HeroClix. Now, before I do that, I'm going to pull up a click, just a click. A HeroClix dial. All right. Now, this is really, really, really important. That's a good one. Give me that. Let me go to there and pull that up right there. All right. When I was teaching this game, when I was teaching this game to people, I always said color plus location equals power. All right. So what do I mean by something like that? Well, actually, it's pretty simple. Pretty simple. Let me explain. What we have here is a HeroClix dial. This is what they look like. You got their point value. How much does it cost to put this on the board, and how much do I have to spend? What team affiliation they have, if any. So this is Batman, there you go. But really, most of the game exists right here. the little foot we got there. Oh. Yeah, little foot that we got right here is little foot is movement. How many squares can they move? This guy can move 9. What is their attack power? i.e. this little fist or something? That means that number plus 2d6 against the defense, the little shield of whoever it is they're trying to punch. All right. And this thing over here, the end of the L, the little kaplapa, is how much damage they do if they hit standardly. We've got a little number here that says range, how many squares can they shoot, and a lightning bolt, how many people can they shoot at the same time. And then later on, they brought on the improved abilities and the traits. All right, but that's it. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things you got to learn in that, right? And that's it. But how many squares can they move on the grid? 9, and they can move like queens in they can move like queens plus knights on the board. It's that simple. So they can move 9 squares. Yay. But when we take a look here, these things got different colors on them. And that is where we go into the dial. Now this is 5 pages. Okay, is it no, 8 pages. 8 pages of what that means. All right, because like you've got speed, the different kinds, be it running, flying, swimming. All right, and then you've got all the other things, like what do these things mean, all of these colors and these symbols. And that is where it seems like things get difficult. But like, let's say red. Well, on red, if it's red on foot, you can make 2 fist attacks. If it's red on the fist attack thing, you can use Blades, Claws, and Fangs, which says instead of doing the damage that's printed, you roll a d6. If it's red in defense, you get a dodge roll. If it's red in damage, you're really good at ranged combat, and you can either pump your damage by 2 or pump your to hit roll by 2. And it just goes through the whole thing. All right. So, I mean, quite seriously, it's not that difficult to learn, all right? But it gets really complex when you look at those 8 pages and say, I have to memorize all of it. And the thing is, you don't. Not if you're looking to learn how to play. If you're looking to learn how to play, you get all of those basic things down. What do the dice mean? How do I move? How do I punch? How do I not get punched? What fuel do I have to do to use my special powers, and what are my special powers? All right. And what's the jargon on that? Now, the special powers and the jargon are the 2 biggest things to learn. But again, you don't have to learn them all at once. All right, when I sit down and I'm learning a game from any of my game dealers, they'll use the jargon in the game and I'll be like, stop. Does that mean my to hit roll? Does that mean my damage roll? Like, what special thing is that? You know, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. And I know this when I had a friend that was playing BioShock Infinite, and he was talking to me about all the stuff that you use in BioShock Infinite, using the terms from BioShock Infinite as though I played that game. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I love that you're enthusiastic about it. You know, my 40K friend players, or my 40K player friends, are like, wait, are you telling me that that model has OBSEC? I'm like, OBSEC? It's like objective secure. You're saying that I can get points with that one. And I'm going, I've never played a game where that was an issue, you know, because I don't play 40K. So, you know, it's a thing. It's a really big thing where the lexicon is where a lot of people put their value into the game. And why am I putting it this way? Because, and this is really important, especially for you guys out there watching that have tried to teach people how to play games before. I'm not calling you out specifically, nor am I saying if you've done this, you're terrible, because we all go through this. No one is born with the skill set of teaching. It's something that has to be cultivated. Fortunately, I've been cultivating teaching for a long time. But when most people try and teach someone how to play a game, they teach the 4 things that a person does not have to know in order to learn a game. Take out your pencils, and this goes into the red circle with the slash through it, okay? They don't need to know the setting, the lore, the flavors, or tactics to win. All right, those 4 things are things to absolutely avoid when it comes to learning games. All right, when I was sitting down to learn Warhammer 40K, I didn't care about the 30 years of lore that has been going on since the game was founded in 1987. I didn't care about Rogue Trader. I didn't need to know about Rogue Trader in order to get the basics of the game down. I didn't need to know about the Horus Heresy and the Inquisition's war with the Great Council. I didn't need to know about, I didn't need all that stuff. Didn't need it. What I wanted to learn was how to play. Not how to build a team, not how to win. Where do I roll my dice? What do they do? And why is it that you just rolled a handful of dice and I've lost half of my figures? Okay, much like when you go to a casino, guys, you don't get an associate's in card games and their cultural ramification upon societies when you sit down at a blackjack table. Okay, you don't need to know the anthropological history of dice to learn how to play craps. Okay, you go, I want to throw math rocks on a little board and make my guys go pew pew. How I make that go? How I make Superman punch Green Lantern in face? That's what I want to know. How do I make my guy in big shoulder pads go pew 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 with his big gun against that other guy in shoulder pads that go big gun? Don't need to know about the lore. Okay, I don't need to know the full history of Star Trek in order to play Star Trek Attack Wing. I need to know how my ships move, what dice do I roll to make them go pew pew, and do I just take the damage or do I try and jump out of the way? All right, mechanics versus lore versus tactics. Yeah, exactly. But his are spiky. I don't care why his are spiky. There is place to teach people about the lore and all that stuff after they're interested. Now, when I was teaching people how to play HeroClix for years and years and years, I did let them know. Having knowledge of the lore, having knowledge of, being a comic book fan really helps. All right. I ended up playing a game. I believe it was when the Wonder Woman Justice League set came out, and I managed to get the entirety of the Doom Patrol. No, I had the Metal Men. I had the Doom Patrol as a whole team, and I fought against one of my guys. One of my friends who just loved the Hulk. He's just like, look at this Hulk, blah, 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 blah. And I used my Doom Patrol team the way they're written in the book, and I ended up winning the game. And he was like, I don't understand how they just came out. How are you so good with them? I'm like, I read the comic books. I know what they do. I know exactly what they do when they come out. That's always a bit of an advantage. However, I didn't know anything about the 40K lore when I started playing Grimdark Future from One Page Rules. All right. I'm only a mild history buff. Mild history buff. So when I first looked into how to play Carnivale, yeah, it's set in an alternate Venice in 1795. I did not hit the internet and read the political and economic history of Venice in 1895. I didn't do that. I'm like, wow, these guys got little fish monsters and these guys can jump on balconies and that looks awesome. You know, I just need to know how my players move across the board. How do I hit them? Holy crap, I can jump off of a roof and hit somebody like in Assassin's Creed. How do I do that? And this is one of the big things, you know? And when I'm teaching people how to play games, all right, I tend to try and keep them focused on moving their figure, rolling their dice, and stabby stab, stabby stab stab, or shooty shoot, pew pew pew, all right? So when you guys are learning new games, okay, people are gonna come at you with tactics and jargon, so much jargon. You know, what I tend to have to do is to take a breath and realize that these people are excited and they're trying to share something with me. And in a lot of the circles that I run in, people want to be recognized for the amount of work and time and improvements they've put into it, and they want me to be the one to recognize it. I get it. And so I grit my teeth, I take a breath, and I go, that's cool, but my question is, okay? And if you focus on those things, how do they move? How do they hit? How do the dice work? All right. What are board conditions? What's the fuel that's used? And what's the special stuff? Okay. Everything else comes secondary. Now, here is the biggest secret. And it's not a secret because I talk about it in almost every single show that I talk about games in. So almost every day, right? And that is the most important secret, okay? I'm gonna say the jargony way, and then I'm gonna explain that way. You got your pencil? You ready? Ready? Are you ready for that jargon? Okay, no, I'm talking to you specifically. No, you. No, not her, but you, all right? Ready? It's just a game, okay? That's all. It's just a game. One of the things that the founding fathers said to me, or said that someone had said to me, someone quoted a founding father to me, and I'm like, yes, exactly, which is this: fail, F-A-I-L, first attempt in learning. All right. I know so many people, especially when I sit them down to play games, they're afraid to fail, they're afraid to lose, and they focus so hard on making the right move at the right time so that they can win the first time they ever play a game. And it's like, dude, just because you lose a game the first time you sit down to play it because you were trying to learn, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're dumb. It doesn't mean that you are crap at learning. It doesn't mean any of those things. It means you don't know what you're doing. And regardless of what those gatekeepers in the world say to you, that's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing not to know. All right, especially when you are in the process of finding out. All right, that is a real thing. All right, the process of learning is finding out. No one absorbs brand new information 100%, or should I say absorbs new information with 100% understanding and 100% recall the first time ever. And I don't care who puts pressure on you to do it. The most important thing is that you try. You know, my mom used to tell me that when you do your best, angels can't do any better. And when I say it's just a game, when I say losing does not, it doesn't reflect on what kind of person you are. All right. I want to really back that up by saying this. When you're sitting down to learn any of these games, are you trying to learn or are you trying to play? All right. Because I got bad news. You can't play until you learn how. All right. That's a really big thing. It's like, if you don't believe me, get your hands on a helicopter. Go ahead. Fly a helicopter. Oh, wait. You don't know how to, and that could result in lots and lots of people dying. Oh my God, you're terrible. No. You know, if we were experts at everything our first time out, then our entire school career would be 2.5 years from kindergarten to PhD. And that's not the way it works. That is really not the way it works. I am waiting eagerly for the day where I could freaking inject something into my head and download the information, the understanding, and the competence of everything. All right? Y'all wanted flying cars? Y'all can have flying cars. I want to download the internet into my brain and actually understand things and people. Yeah, I'm pulling tropes from science fiction. All right? So yeah. So yeah, when it comes down to that, it's just like, look, it's a game. There will be no terrible consequences for not getting it right the first time. Your family isn't going to be shot by terrorists. Earthquakes aren't going to happen. Floods won't go through the Midwest. Tidal waves are not going to hit your coastal cities. You know, it's not the way it works, guys. If you're little guys that go pew, pew, pew toward the other guys that go, blood for the blood god, bone for the bone throne. If they don't do it perfectly in your first 10, 20, 30, 40 games, people aren't going to die, jobs aren't going to be lost, and you are not going to be judged as an inferior human being and not it's not like St. Peter is going to be like, yes, you spent your life in service of others, and oh, you taught Sunday school and kindergarten. Wow, you got your degree in teaching special needs students, so you have been teaching special needs students out of the kindness of your heart. Oh wow, you funded an entire charity out of your own pocket that went global, and when offered millions of dollars, you took the millions of dollars and donated it back to the very charity that you started. Wait. You split fire in 40K. Get out of here. No, that's not the way that's gonna work. You know, that's not the way it goes. All right, guys, that's not how it goes. You know, it's not like, oh yes, well, it looks like you witnessed 5 miracles, and you stopped a kindergartner from being possessed by a demon, and you helped that demon get forgiveness in the name of the Catholic God. What's this? You made a warlock in 5th edition and didn't take Eldritch Blast? Get out of here. Yeah, no. No, that's not how that's gonna work. All right, regardless of how those gatekeepers think. Okay? Hey, Film Age Studios. I'm really pushing the It's Just a Game because you would be surprised at how many people forget this on the table. All right? Yeah, I mean, seriously. So understanding these 7 basic things: how to move, what the dice rolls are, okay, how to damage, how to get damaged or not to get damaged, okay, what board circumstances are, what else, what's the fuel, okay, what's the fuel, and a little bit of the jargon. Those 7 things. Okay, understand that that's where you put your learning attention, and once you get there, then you can jump into lore and tactics and team building and all of that stuff. All right. If you go to any place that gives demonstrations, all right, the people who really get people interested, the demo guys that really share their enthusiasm about games, they know this. They know this very very well. They cut out all of the fat and most of the flavor to give demonstrations of everything that they see people are going to be interested in. I've had 40K demonstrated to me once or twice. I think it was like with that box set that was Space Marines and Necrons. And yeah, the fact of the matter is they showed me how to move, when to shoot, how to charge, call it a day. And then they're like, now with a big game, you get to do that 30, 40, 50 times. I'm like, oh, you know? And I got the principles of the game enough to want to watch a battle report. How does the coffee cup keep getting more full? Magic. I am a wizard. So when I teach people how to play D&D, I teach them how to read the character sheet. And if you're going to teach these games, then having an understanding of those 7 fundamental principles and focusing just on them, okay? Focusing just on how they move, how they do the special stuff, what special stuff they can do. I always tell people when I'm learning a new game, let me discover the combinations. I'm trying to get the basics down. Because again, there are players, there are teachers, all right? And when a player tries to teach, if you guys go to any game store or any game club or watch any YouTube video, you'll see people raise the level to entry bar, okay? And I kind of get it. I really do. I kind of get it. I got this with music. How toxic is the tabletop D&D community? Quite honestly, Film Age Studio, and by the way, welcome to the channel. The D&D community is getting less toxic every single day, and it's really been cool. It used to be really toxic, but 5th edition opened the door to a lot of new people, and when the flood of new players come in, when more new players come in than gatekeepers can keep them out, the community gets a lot less toxic overall, because the toxicity is the main tool of gatekeepers. All right. So the D&D community as a whole is pretty cool and pretty welcoming. There are different flavors of D&D community. Some folks like the role-playing aspect. A lot of folks like the combat aspects. A lot of Grognars go to Pathfinder because I don't like things that are different, and I don't like these new additions. Yeah, 4th edition did run off. All in all, the current D&D community, and I've been playing these games since the 80s, is the most welcoming I've ever known it to be. And I really, really like that. And this is coming from someone who wasn't welcomed into most nerd spaces for reasons. All right. So yeah. So as I was saying, when you are learning or teaching these games, focusing on those 7 principles, just the 7 basics, on game mechanics, regardless of the game that you're playing. These are the 7 aspects of game mechanics, and they vary from game to game because the specialness is how each game differentiates itself as an individual thing in the market, okay? But a lot of people will start trying to tell you combinations. Like I said, they raise the level to entry in the sense of, don't teach someone the alphabet, just start them out with standard words. All right. That is a great teaching technique for things that people have no choice in. What do I mean? If you are in a music class in school and your counselor doesn't let you pick a different elective, then you got to learn whatever they teach. All right. But this isn't school. All right. This isn't school. This is stuff that we spend our money on. This is something that we can bow out of at any moment. The moment it becomes not fun, we can stop doing it. So when that comes down to it, when you're teaching new players, you have to show them what makes the thing fun. All right. And I'll tell you this, for 90% of the people that I know, reading 26 novels from the Black Library is not what makes Warhammer 40K fun. Rolling 100 dice and going, what happens? Ah! That's fun. Rolling to see if your vehicle or your giant thing explodes. That's fun. In the DC Universe game, having Superman pick up a building and throw it in the direction of General Zod and the Joker, that's fun. You know, and for some people, figuring out the different combinations and stuff is fun, but that fun comes after learning the basics. Okay. I talk a lot about my old gaming group, my Pathfinder group, that doesn't deal with beginner humans. And what they mean by that is, in the old days of D&D, you started off at first level as the base of your race. You're a first level dwarf, a first level human, a first level elf. You didn't get a character class. Okay, you just got a race and some numbers, and those numbers you had to roll just to find out what you were. And as the game progressed, you were able to eventually choose a character class if you met the criteria. All right. It's a different thing. It was a different way to play way back then in the days of THAC0. But a lot of people have been doing stuff so long, they forgot the basic fundamentals. Okay, the absolute basic fundamentals. What are the dice for? How do we determine movement? Why can't I shoot through that thing? You know? And in the age that we live in nowadays, all right, it's really easy to find reasons not to like stuff. 90% of the internet is based on making people mad. Excuse me. And the number one way to make people mad is to talk about how things that people like are terrible. All right, either problematic politically, or just plain suck, and it could be so much better, but I'm going to complain about it instead of writing my own. All right, like facts. That's just the world that we live in. However, all of these things that we look into are billion-dollar industries, which means there's gotta be some fun in there. Some people gotta enjoy it, and for what reasons do they enjoy it? And I find that when I play games and I go pew pew, I love my little lizard man against my Justice League, or I love my ragtag thief corporation against a dragon or two, or I love my little mercenary company trying to rob a mega corporation so I can stick it to the man. All of that is super fun, but all of that stuff are special levels of, or different levels of special powers that are implemented into a skin on top of what comes down to games that involve dice rolls and math. You know? I mean, really, that's it. That's where it comes from. You know, I started thinking about this because my old Call of Cthulhu group, how can I put it? They were totally fatalistic, okay? Essentially, if you made all the right decisions in your Call of Cthulhu campaign to make it so that you might end up relatively sane and alive at the party, you would be targeted, because in Call of Cthulhu, it's not about whether you live or die, it's about how you die and how crazy you are at it. That was their fundamental thought. Okay, just like I've played in a lot of games, like I said with my old Pathfinder group, they didn't suffer any questions of, wait a minute, how do I do that? You know, and now that I'm a teacher of all these games, I'm like, oh no, you roll the d20. Well, do I roll the d20 for that too? Yes. You roll the d20 for that. Well, how did I end up getting this? I'm like, well, let's look at your stats, let's look at all this, and let's look at the chart, you know. And again, learning most of these tabletop games just require those 7 things. All right. That really is it. Those 7 things. And 5 of those things can be answered in literally half a second. You know, you add up two 6-sided dice and you add that to this number and you hope for this result. Moving on. It says how much damage this does here. Moving on. You know, but a lot of people get the idea that they have to know everything and memorize every single bit at the beginning so that they can win in their first game. They go in hyper competitive and hyper paranoid. And we've talked on this channel many times about trusting the people that you play with. All right. And in my experiences, I've found that a lot of people don't trust the person that's teaching them the game. And I've seen a plethora of reasons, but the 2 number 1 reasons that I've seen is the person is teaching the new person the game so that they have someone to play with. And once the student says they understand something, they stop teaching and they start playing. And then the student ends up getting their teeth smashed in game, and it's not fun for them, you know? And the second thing is the teacher never intended on teaching the student. And here's the thing about teaching anything, all right? And this is something to really put out there in the world, and I try, all right? The best teachers, the ones that have the biggest impact, and the ones who have the largest amount of students that walk away with understanding, in their heart of hearts, isn't competing with their students. They want their students to be better than them. Like that old trope, so the master has become the student. Every good teacher wants that. Every good teacher wants that. When I sit down and teach someone a game, I want them to have fun discovering things that I haven't discovered yet. You know, I want them to be able to sit down and play me as hard as they can and win the majority of the time. All right? That's what I like. You know, I want them to understand so much that they find enjoyment on whatever level they find enjoyment of things for. It's just a matter of putting the cart before the horse. You know, I mean, really, that's what a lot of new players do. So keeping things to those 7 fundamentals, the 7 chief fundamentals of learning any game. I don't care if it's a board game or a miniatures game or a tabletop role-playing game. Doesn't matter. Okay? Doesn't matter. These are the basics to learning any game. And 5 of those 7 things are really easy, you know? But as I said, a lot of bad teachers, or a lot of people that aren't skilled in teaching, start teaching setting and lore and flavors and, of course, tactics. And I'll tell you this, tactics do not matter if the fundamentals of the rules aren't understood. You know, I mean, seriously, I used to teach that way for a little while. Oh, you teach Latin? Sweet. Yeah. And, you know, I saw a lot of people teaching tactics, and I saw a lot of competitive players just beat people to death. I've told the stories about some of my old bosses and how they played card games and miniatures games, and I'm like, I don't understand how you're so good, or how you pull the card that you need the moment you need it. And they're like, shui. I'm like, so I need to understand the basic fundamentals of feng shui in order to understand how you play this game. Please help me out here. And they couldn't, or wouldn't. Same thing. But either way, so learning the fundamentals, learning how all of these things work and how they work together, is really the secret on how I play so many games as competently as I play them. And as I said, 8 tabletop role-playing games, about 6 to 7 tabletop miniatures games. But once you get the fundamentals down and the overall theory behind this, then everything else on top of it is flavor, and that is where there's so much fun to be had, you know. There's more to it, but then we get into game design, and that's not my forte. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the math and the probabilities of trying to create your favorite character from a comic book and drop them into the 40K universe or anything like that. That's not what this channel is. All right, but once you get those secrets, once you understand those 7 core principles, any game that you sit down and play will be like, oh, that's pretty simple. And then once you get that part, you can go, okay, well, what makes this game different from that? And that's where we get into flavor, lore, setting, all of that stuff. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. We got a couple of new people in here today, and I'm really loving it. Film Age Studios, thank you. Thank you for showing up. If you like this stuff, I'm here Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. All right. The show is generally abstraction and intuition is such a big step. It really is. You know, we're here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please, guys, I need 6 more tickets to be sold to Decker Day. All right, 6 more tickets. That's not a whole lot. 6 people. So if you guys are up for sponsoring somebody, just buying a ticket for someone else to use, that would be really appreciated. And that's down here in Southern California at Bono's Pizzeria, Decker Day. $50 single admission, $80 family pack, and a family pack is 2 single admissions and 3 free entries for people under 18. All right, I really want to show families and all that stuff how everybody's into all that. And the ticket includes the all-you-can-eat Italian buffet, the bottomless drink, 2-hour parking in a downtown area of a major city, the paint and take, the terrain workshop. We're going to have game demos all day. We're going to do a recording of Dark Side of the Room with our panel from 133 Art, Marquita Lassar, Michael Young from Nerd Soul, Charles Mendez from Guildhouse Games, and that is this Saturday. We are going from noon to 8. The panel is going to be at about 3. And yeah, I've got 8 tables of miniatures games set up, 3 tables, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons set up, and of course the meet and greet. I'm pretty sure the players from Warp Tumbler C24 are going to be there. So yeah, y'all want selfies with those guys, that's also a possibility, but that's up to them. I'm not locking them into anything. And yeah, it's going to be a good day, but I need to sell 6 more tickets. All right, just 6 more tickets today. So yeah, that's either God, what was it? That's either 3 more family packs or 6 individual tickets. Either way, that's what we need to get going. Again, if you guys are interested in sponsoring, just head over. Let me just pull up the link so that you guys can also head out. Yeah, I'll put the link right here in the chat so you guys can RSVP through the PayPal link and leave a note to say if they're for you, or if you're sponsoring a ticket. One of our people in the chat right now has already sponsored a ticket because they don't live in the state of California, but they really want more people to be there, and I really appreciate that. So boom, there you go, the donate button through Decker Day. Again, and if you guys are up for it, you know, to sponsor a couple of through, and you're liquid enough to do it, we really appreciate it. And outside of that, if y'all got any questions about that, you can hit me up on the Discord, you can join Deckers on the Book, or you can send me an email at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. Send me a private message on Twitter, or Instagram, or TikTok, or join Deckers on the Book and get all those details. But yeah, that is seriously the thing. Thank you guys for showing up. Major shout out to the sponsors of this episode, my patrons, along with special shout out to my people out there in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. We're talking Zero Supa, Alien Conglomeration, Anna Banana, Black and White Now in Color, Camel Heart, Commander Root, Film Age Studios, Elizabeth is Nickable, Neon Knight 13, Rogue Girl, Sega Dream, Shanuala. I think that's Shanawala, Sophia Fox 21, Xanathades, and of course holding it down like gravity, Clever Little Vixen. Thank you guys for being here. And remember, if anybody tells you that you can't have the hobbies you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disabilities, or your budget, you can tell those people to put those cards back in the deck. All right? You can play any games you want. You play games. That's what we do. We play games. We talk about games. Some of us even design games. Or should I say, some of y'all design games. I'm not that designer guy. But yeah, and we will see you guys tomorrow on Hobby Hall. I've got one other thing to do. And then, yeah, hopefully we will see as many of you guys as possible at Decker Day on Saturday. But until then, thank you guys for tuning in. All right? Thanks a lot.